Welcome everyone to Ein Sof Learning. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. Today is November 22nd, 2023, and I think we should start giving the Hebrew date from now on because it's the 9th of Kislev, 5784. Why should we bring up the Hebrew date? Who cares about the year and the Hebrew calendar? The year 5784 marks a point in the progress of the storyline of the Torah. Because the Torah is a story of creation. So, we're approaching the end of the story. There's two ways that this story can end. The story can end either with the bad guys winning or the good guys winning. It could be either way. The way that pans out in the wisdom of the Torah, in the way that it's going to end up forming into two groups as we see happening now, is good versus evil. Tov versus Ra. Chesed versus Gevurah. Kindness versus justice. I heard one person within the last few weeks tell me, justice is a prerequisite to peace. That is so not a Jewish answer. That does not ring a bell from the wisdom of Kabbalah. The concept of justice is Gevurah. Gevurah is left column energy. It's strict judgment. What we call in Hebrew, din. So we don't want the left column. But typically we think, it's okay to be selfish. But evil? Nope, I'm against evil. But selfishness? That's okay. Not as big of a deal. That's the wrong way of looking at it. According to the Hebrew definition of the word evil, we have to go to the Hebrew roots of these words if we want to benefit from God's opinion on what evil is. If you want to know what God thinks evil is, then you have to go to the holy language, the holy tongue, which is the one that was written in the Torah. So the word evil is Ra. Resh Ayin. The letter Resh stands for Ratzon. Ratzon, that means desire or will. Atzmi. Atzmi means myself. The self. The concept of me. So, if you put these two words together, you get Ratzon Atzmi. Selfish desire, or the will to serve myself. Not the will of God, the will of myself. So, this shows the essence of what selfishness is all about. Selfishness is self, the concept of me, which we know through psychology, and ironically, is indistinguishable from misery. When a person thinks about themselves, it is chemically indistinguishable from misery. So selflessness is the cure to depression. Selflessness is the cure to all illness, because all illness is an expression of the corroding of your spiritual faculties, which is what causes you to be selfless. You are clouding your spiritual powers. And that's what happens whenever you make a sin. Because every time that you commit what the world calls an averah, well, in Hebrew it is called an averah, or a chet. The concept of chet, usually people think it means sin, but really it means mistake. If you want to be technical, the concept of a chet, it just means mistake. It doesn't mean something so damaging that this person is evil to the core and we have to punish him. No. That is the concept of pesha. In Hebrew, pesha means like I did it on purpose. It was an intentional sin. I used my consciousness. It was not a consequence of, me having lower consciousness. It's a concept of me having opposing consciousness. So let's get deep into it. Genesis chapter 28 verses 10 to 11 states, "And Jacob left Beersheba, and he went to Haran. And he encountered the place, and lodged there, because the sun had set. And he took some of the stones of the place, and placed them at his head. And he lay down in that place." So we see the word place being used repetitively in these two verses. So these verses can be interpreted allegorically, because the Torah has many levels of understanding, but the wisdom of Kabbalah, it says that you need to go as deep as you possibly can. So according to your understanding, to your capacity, listen up. Whenever a person sits down before they go to sleep and does teshuvah every single night, which means you sit down with your sidur or with your prayers, you confess, you admit the wrongdoings you did that day, you go over all the thoughts, the words, the actions, everything you did that day. You forgive the people who hurt you. You forgive yourself for hurting others. And you don't go to bed until you have a clear mind, you have a clear conscience. That's called doing teshuvah. But why should I care to do this? Because whenever a person goes from wakefulness to sleep, it's as if that they are walking into the Sitra Achra. Why? Because if a person has not yet reached holiness within themselves, they have not yet revealed the power of their soul within their body, so the place that they go to is a very dark place because it's inside their head. It's all in a state of potential. But whenever a person reveals the light in those dark spots within them, which means that they are connected to the light force, to God, oh wow, they sleep so well. Why? Because their neshama goes up to a very holy spot, a makom. That's why it says that Jacob went to a makom. And it says the word makom like 4 times. It's emphasizing the place. What place? So each soul comes from a certain level, certain place on the tree of life. Because the tree of life is a bunch of levels of consciousness, not just a level. So how connected are you to it? The level to which you are revealing the power of your neshama within you, which means you're doing things l'shem shamayim. So therefore, your experience when you sleep is one that is unhindered by negative forces. You don't have any grasp on the klipot, don't have any grasp on you. And that's why it says that Jacob left from Beersheba, which is the Holy Land, and he went to Haran. But on the other hand, if you're not righteous and you go to sleep, the neshama leaves the body, goes to its place, but it encounters many obstacles, which means it's not able to really get to where it needs to go. In order to get to where it needs to go, you have to clear the way. You have to make a ladder, just like the ladder that Jacob saw in his dream. So if a person doesn't do teshuvah, they're not able to walk that ladder. But every night, you do teshuvah. Before you sleep, you say the Shema, you say vidui, you do confessions. You rid yourself of all sorts of guilt. If you have any guilt, any mistakes that you've made that day, that is the time. That is your last chance to do teshuvah before the soul leaves to its place where it gets judged. Because when the soul leaves the body to go up, it gets judged on its way. So you want to make sure it's a very clear path. So a clear path, what that looks like, is when a person has a clear mind. No guilts, no shames, didn't commit any mistakes. Whenever a person commits mistakes, so they didn't do it on purpose. But you still have to confess, you still have to redeem yourself. Because even though you didn't do it intentionally, so it's not as bad, but you still did the mistake. It's like you spill orange juice on a carpet that someone invited you to their house. So you didn't mean to, but someone has to clean the orange juice. So it's definitely not the same. I'm not going to kick you out of the house, but I'm still going to say, can you please, clean it? No one can clean you for you because each person is their own. So you're responsible for your life and I'm responsible for my life. So I cannot put the burden of my responsibility on someone else. I have to bear my responsibility. And if each person does that, if each person does teshuvah before they sleep at night, then even when they walk into the land of Haran, they will have the protection of the Shekhinah, and they are still a tzaddik. They bring the holiness with them. They bring the kedusha of Eretz HaKodesh with them wherever they go. That is a person who's connected to the tree of life, where they are not affected by the Sitra Achra. This is where we're trying to reach. Whenever we realize that we are worthy of the light, we are worthy of holiness, that's the moment when our journey really begins. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video.